So I'll start by saying this. I did not expect the Bulls to win this game. I said in my weekly preview video that this was still going to be a loss for the Bulls. I was on Hayes of the Chicago Bulls Central yesterday, and I said that the Bulls probably weren't going to win this game despite the incredible comeback that they had over the Clippers and how that was a huge shift and boost in their morale and momentum for the remaining games on their schedule. But I've said it before, the Bulls do not match up well against the Miami Heat, and Coach Spoelstra throughout his career has outcoached Billy Donovan. That dates back to his days with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Spo is the master at making in-game adjustments based on the pace, flow, and dynamic of the game and who's on the court. And we all know that Billy Donovan is not the best at making in-game adjustments. Like, I know it might sound a bit harsh, but if we're being honest with ourselves, he's just not. And he's been outcoached in games countless times this season. I've said before, I'm not going to put all the blame on Billy Donovan because the players need to be held accountable as well, but some of this is on the coaching staff. Now, the other downside with tonight's loss is that the Bulls fell behind the Raptors in the standings for the number 6 seed, which I said in my video this morning when assessing the Bulls' first round matchups, whether they finish 5th or 6th, it doesn't really matter. Like, they're going to be playing one of those top 4 Eastern Conference teams, and they're not going to have home court advantage. At this rate, based on how the standings are right now, I would actually prefer the Bulls to finish 6th and play the Celtics, who are currently 3rd, versus playing the Sixers, who are 4th. But you're bound to see some shifting between those two teams in the final week of the season. So anyway, I'm not too fussed by the Bulls falling to 6th in the standings. Just need them to stay out of the play-in and have the potential to play the Nets in the play-in game. That would be awful. But that's looking unlikely with the separation that still exists between the Bulls and the Cavs at this point. But as for this game, I mean, I touched on it a bit already, but this was a matter of Donovan getting out coached yet again by one of the best teams in the NBA, because the Bulls actually started out this game very well. They came out with energy, they were taking smart shots, they were hitting their shots. Zach started out really hot, and the defensive intensity was there as well. And really, the Bulls kept this pretty close and competitive for the whole first half. But as we have seen a lot this season, the adjustments were made by the opposing team, and the Bulls didn't know how to respond to them at all. Plain and simple, the Heat didn't do as much of their zone defense as they've done in the past against the Bulls, which has been a nightmare for them. But the calculated doubles and switches on DeMar and Lavine that didn't allow for the Bulls to get up good shots, and the Bulls weren't doing anything to feed Vucevic whatsoever. And Spo exposed the Bulls' biggest weakness on defense, forcing switches on guys who were bad defenders, like when you saw the forced switch of Jimmy Butler going at guys like Coby White and Zach Lavine. Like, yeah, Coby isn't going to be able to guard Jimmy, and Jimmy was taking him to the basket and either drawing a foul or getting an easy layup. Again, recognizing the mismatch and making adjustments to take advantage of it. That is what good coaches do. Now, this wasn't a great game for DeMar DeRozan, coming off that incredible 50-piece the other night. Yes, he scored 26 points, but nearly half of those came from the free throw line. DeRozan was actually 6 for 18 from the floor tonight and 1 for 4 from 3. Again, the Heat knew that they needed to do this in limiting DeRozan and his shot attempts. And aside from the poor shooting from DeMar, he also only had 2 assists and 1 rebound and was a team worst minus 19 on the court. Drastic contrast from the other night when he was plus 19. Zach Lavine played much better in this game, though. He started off really hot, going quickly 4 for 4, but then quickly cooled off, going 1 for 7 on his next attempts. He still finished the game shooting above 50% and was finally finding his stroke from deep, going 5 for 12 from 3. He was also 6 for 6 from the line and only had 1 turnover with his 33 points. Speaking of turnovers, the Bulls actually had one of their best games in limiting turnovers against one of the better defensive teams in the league. They only have 1 turnover in the whole first half and finished the game with 5 turnovers in total. The Bulls have really improved in that area and not committing turnovers more recently, despite being on that slump since the All-Star break. But anyway, Vuce, I mean, you want to harp on Vucevic in his play, but at the same time, guys have to go into Vucevic more in the post. Like, yes, Vuce could have been more aggressive. He could have been calling for the ball more, but Vuce has got to be putting up more than 11 attempts, and it was only 8 attempts that were inside the three-point line. That cannot happen for a scoring big man, and we've seen how much better the Bulls are when guys are getting Vucevic involved inside, not kicking it out to him for a three, as he's really struggled from deep this season. Vucevic just 12 points tonight on 6 for 11 shooting, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. Ayo had a great game, or a better game, I should say. He was 5 for 10 from the floor and was much more active on the defensive end as well as hustling out in transition. He had 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists in 31 minutes. I'm not really sure what's been going on with Caruso. I mean, it's still been pretty clear to me that he really isn't 100% since that wrist injury. He had 0 points tonight, which I'm not that fussed about because Caruso isn't much of a scorer as he is a defensive stopper in the point of attack and also an energizer. But even his defense hasn't looked as clean recently, and I haven't seen the energy that he used to draw when he was on the court. I don't know, I think it's getting to be about that time that the Bulls start inserting Patrick Williams into the starting lineup, because this is 2 games in a row now, ever since Billy called him out for needing to earn his minutes, that he has done a complete 180 in his overall activity on the court, moving way more without the ball, being more confident and assertive in driving to the hoop with the ball, and also much more active on the defensive end down low. Those 2 blocks at the beginning of the game where he just swatted, I believe it was Tyler Hero, like it was a kid going up for a layup, that got me hyped. And just his overall quickness, right? He has looked a lot better in his ability to get up and down the court. This is another game in which Patrick played 30 minutes or 30 or more minutes. Tonight he finishes with 12 points and 6 rebounds along with 2 blocks and a steal. The one final piece I'll add in this is in regards to Coby White. What the heck is going on with this guy? 0 for 9 from the floor, 0 for 7 from 3. I think Adam Amin said something like he is 2 for 23 from 3 in his last 3 games. Like, are you kidding me? I've said multiple times on this channel, Coby is one of the more inconsistent players in the NBA. But hell, now he's actually showing some consistency, and it's on the negative side where he's throwing up brick after brick. I couldn't believe that Billy Donovan actually still put him in the game in the 4th quarter after that kind of showing that he was having in the first 3 quarters. And that's on both ends of the floor. Like, it's not like Coby was just bad on offense tonight. It was the fact that he was getting worked by most of the Heat players that kept trying to force switches to go against him. But he was also committing bad fouls and was getting beat to the basket. I don't know. I don't know. Because on one hand, a successful Coby White is so important to this team when you think about the added scoring that he would otherwise provide off of the bench and gives the Bulls that much more depth. But at the same time, his inconsistency, he's so inconsistent that you don't know if he's going to be that X factor for your team or an absolute liability. Coby better figure it out, though, because now is not the time to be going through a slump as we head into the playoffs. You better be playing your best basketball because the Bulls are going to need your scoring off the bench. 2 points, going 0 for 9 in 20 minutes is not going to cut it. Anyway, I probably should be more mad about this loss than I am because the Bulls are now 0-17, I believe, against the top 3 teams in each conference. But at the same time, it's the Heat. I wasn't expecting a win. I do wish it was more competitive and the Bulls showed more fight in them. Yeah, that bothered me. But the Bulls also slide to 6, which would match them up with the Celtics instead of the Sixers. So maybe not all that bad. Obviously, you still always prefer the win, though. The Bulls are off until Tuesday, which they're going to need, where they'll be taking on the Bucks in a nationally televised game on ESPN. I'll have my weekly preview video out on the final week of the season on Monday morning, so be on the lookout for that. Until then, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.